Yeah, thank you very much joining devotees. So, ఎవరైనా పాడతారా మాతాజీ? సంయుక్త మాతాజీ, వెన్నెల మాతాజీ. దామోదరాష్టకం చేస్తారా?
I'll do Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
చేయండి. కర్తాలు ఉందా మాతాజీ మీకు?
Undi Prabhuji.
కర్తాలు ప్లే చేసి వాడండి. ఎట్లా వచ్చినా కూడా అట్లా ప్రాక్టీస్ లా
Okay.
ఉంటుంది, చేయండి. కర్తాలతో చేయండి.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Start cheyna Prabhuji.
చేయండి మాతాజీ.
Yes, Prabhuji. నమామీశ్వరం సచ్చిదానందరూపం లసత్కుండలం గోకులే వ్రజమానం యశోదాభియోనికలాపదమానా పరామృష్టమత్యంతతో దృశగోప్య రుదంతం ముహుర్నేత్రయుగ్మం రుజంతం कराम्भोजयुग्मेन शान्तं सनेत्रम् मुहुश्वासकम्पत्रिरेखान्तकण्ठा स्थितग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिबद्धम् इति दृक्स्वलीलाभिरनन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषामिमज्जान्तम् आख्यापयान्तम् तदीयेसिताग्नेषु भक्तेर्जितत्वं पुनः प्रेमतास्तां श्वेतावृत्तिवन्दे वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षावधिं वा न चन्यं व्रणेऽहं वर्षादपीह इदं देव पूर्णाता गोपालबालाम् सदा मे मनस्याविराष्टां किमन्यै इदं ते मुखाम्बोजमत्यन्तनीलै वृतं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बारक्ताधरं मे मनस्याविराष्टामालं लक्ष्यलाभै नमो देव दामोदरनन्त विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजलाभिमग्नम् कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्यादिदिनं बतानो गृहाणेश मामाज्ञाविजक्षुदृश्य कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमुतैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह नमस्ते धाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयौदरायाता विश्वास्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो नन्दलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् नमो राधिकायै त्वदीया प्रियायै नमो नन्दलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसकुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम् Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much. So we'll read translations. First two I will read, and remaining we all read. Okay, yeah. Sri Damodarashtakam, written in Padma Purana by Srila Vyasadeva, spoken by in these three devotees, three lords, pure devotees, Satyavrata Muni, Narada Muni, and Shaunaka Rishi. Number one, to the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, he is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear. The necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with three lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, whose belly is bound not with ropes but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. Yeah. Samyukta Mata, చదవండి రెండు 3, 4. Yeah. Mataji, I think you are speaking on mute, Haribol. Samyukta Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah. Translation 3, 4 చదవండి.
Yes, Prabhuji. By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bala Gopala in Vrindavana may ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to be of any other boon besides this? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Venela Mataji.
Correction. O Lord Damodara, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvera were, oh, sorry, Prabhu. Did you scroll for the?
1 second, just a second. Not one. Fourth, 56, yeah. Oh Lord.
O Lord, your lotus face is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red. Is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodara, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showing your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and will become visible to my eyes.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Sapan Prabhuji, 78, please read.
You need to scroll down, Prabhuji.
Yeah, done.
Still not able to see. So I can only see 2 6. Yeah, now I can see. Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. O Lord Damodara, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakurva, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with a rope to wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. Verse 8. O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all my obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. This is Kartik month. We're almost there for another almost 12. Last week, so 9th. 9th means today is 19, 10 days, almost 10 days, 10, 11 days done. Thank you so much for reading. So this is the Kartik month we read every day. Actually, 2 times. In temples, we do Deepdan, Deepdanotsav, actually it's called. In the all ISKCON temples, morning and evening, we do this worship. This the picture, Yashoda Damodar is there. So Lord Damodara bound in wooden grinding mortar. When we read this, when we recite this, koti papa anni potayi annamata. Not only that one, it gives a lot of good consciousness and bhakti. Sri Damodara Ashtakam. The entire month we recite this. So let us do what whenever we connect Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Let us do this. Again, thank you. Let us begin with Mangalacharana prayers. Before that, actually, devotees are having difficulty for the. I'm going to send that message. Recently, I have changed passcode. So again, just half minute. So let me forward this info. And then who else? I am Mataji. Okay. Okay. That's 3. This one. Then. Okay, done. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। ॐ अपवित्रा पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थं गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं साभ्याभ्यन्तरं शुचिः। श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु। I think chapter 9, right, Mataji? Vanilla Mataji? Actually, I'm just checking in the group.
Don't remember exactly.
Is this the one? Actually, that is what last message. After that, Monday we couldn't connect, and Friday also we couldn't connect. That is the what? That is what last Wednesday we have read. Thursday, then thing, not one, that one. Yeah, that's what it is. Yes, chapter 9 only. Correct. Right. Chapter 9.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Sorry for the inconvenience. I have to update the meeting invite. Yes, yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hema Mataji. Thank you, Pallavi Mataji, for joining. Just we did Damodar Ashtakam in our group. So now, just now, actually, we are starting. Okay, chapter 9. Yeah, thank you all for joining. Yes, yeah. Venala Mataji, please start. Yeah, thank you.
Chapter 9, Destination After Death. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्नि आध्यात्मन प्राणम् आस्थित योग धर्मनाम. The yogic situation
Dharanam.
The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and life air on the top of head. One establishes himself in yoga. Bhagavad Gita 8.12. One translation of yoga is plus, that is just the opposite of minus. Just at the present moment, due to our materially contaminated consciousness, we are minus God. When we add God to our lives, when we connect with Him, life is perfected. This process has to be finished at the time of death. Therefore, as long as we are alive, we have to practice approaching that point of perfection, so that at the time of death, we give up this material body. When we can realize the Supreme. Prayana kale manasaschalena bhaktya yukta yoga balena chaiva bhuvor madhya pranam avesya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrows in full devotion engages himself in remembering. Can you please scroll? Remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 8.10. The words Prayana Kale means at the time of death. Life is a kind of preparation for the final examination, which is death. If we pass that examination, we are transferred to the spiritual world. According to a very common Bengali proverb, whatever you do for perfection will be tested at the time of your death. This process by which yogi closes the doors of his senses, and is technically called pratyahara, means just the opposite. Presently, our senses are engaged in seeing worldly beauty. Just the opposite means retracting the senses from that beauty and seeing the beauty inside. Hearing is concentrated on the Omkara sound that is within. Similarly, all other senses are withdrawn from external activity. The mind is then concentrated on the Vishnumurti within the heart. Mana Hridi Nirudhya. The word Nirudhya means confining the mind within the heart. When the yogi has withdrawn his senses and concentrated his mind, he transfers the life air to the top of the head and decides where he should go. Therefore, there are innumerable planets, and beyond these planets is the spiritual world. The yogis obtained information of these planets from the Vedic literatures, just as before coming to the United States, I obtained information about this country from books. Since all higher planets in the spiritual world are described in the Vedic literatures, the yogi knows everything and can transfer himself to any planet he likes. He does not need a material spaceship. Scientists have been trying for many years to reach other planets with spaceships, but this is not the process. Maybe by this means one or two men can reach a planet, but that is not the general process. It is not possible for everyone. Generally, if one wants to transfer himself to a higher planet, he practices this Vijnana Yoga system, not the Bhakti Yoga system. The system of Bhakti Yoga is not used for attaining any material planet. The devotees of Krishna are not interested in any planet within this material universe, because they know that that on all planets the four basic miseries exist: birth, old age, disease, and death. In the higher planets, one's lifespan may be much greater than on this
Earth.
earth, but death is ultimately there. Therefore, those who are in Krishna consciousness are not interested in material life but spiritual life, which means relief from these fourfold miseries. Those who are intelligent do not try to elevate themselves to any planet within this material world. To attain a higher planet, one has to prepare a particular type of body to enable one to live on that planet. We cannot attain these planets by artificial materialistic means, because a suitable body is necessary to live there. We can stay within water only for a short while, but fish are living their entire lives. But fish does not have a body. But the fish does not have a body suitable for living on the land. Similarly, to enter a higher planet, one has to prepare a suitable body. In the higher planets, 6 of our months are equal to one of their deaths, and inhabitants of these planets live 10,000 years. This is all described in the Vedic literatures. Although the lifespan on these planets is very long, there is ultimately death. After 10,000 years, 20,000 years, or millions of years, it doesn't matter. Death is ultimately there. Hare Krishna.
Sure. Thank you, Mataji. మీరు చెప్పగలను Mataji, వెన్నెల Mataji. Anybody remember that verse?
పునరావర్తిన జన.
Yeah. ఆ బ్రహ్మ భువనార్లోక పునరావర్తినో అర్జున మాముపేత్యతు కౌంతయ పునర్జన్మ న విద్యతే. That's what says in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Bhuvanaloka means Brahma planet is in this material world. Brahma's planet, Brahma Lokam, is a topmost planet in this material universe. Their lifespan is so much, millions and billions of years of Brahma's time. But still, problem is there. Death is there. Punaravartina Arjuna. They have to come back. That means again take birth in this material world. So Prabhupada writes in these paragraphs, devotees are not concerned about all these things. Devotees concerned about service in Krishna. So this is nothing. With respect to eternality, this is nothing. This lifespan. That's why they won't worry about going to other planetary systems. Always think about Krishna. That's where Krishna takes them to Golok at the end of life. Always satatam kirtayanto ma manmana bhava madbhakto. So that is their duty. That is their service to Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forgets him. Yes. Samyukta Mate, please continue.
Yes, Prabhuji. In the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, however, we learn that we are not subject to death. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 20 shloka. Krishna thus instructs as us that we are spirit, soul, and eternal. And therefore, why should we subject ourselves to birth and death? One who utilizes his intelligence can understand this. One who is situated in Krishna consciousness is not interested in promotion to any planet where death exists. Rather, being promoted to the spiritual sky, he receives a body just like God's. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. God's body is Satchidananda Vigraha, Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of pleasure. Therefore, Krishna is called the reservoir of all pleasure. If upon leaving this body, we transfer ourselves to the spiritual world, to Krishna's planet or any other spiritual planet, we attain a similar body full of Satchitananda. The spirit soul is a very minute particle within the body. It cannot be seen like the external body, but it is sustaining the external body. The object of the Satchakra system is to locate the soul at the topmost part of the head. From there, one who is perfect in Dhyana Yoga can transfer himself to a higher planet at will. That is the perfection of this type of yoga. The Dhyana Yogi is somewhat like a traveler who thinks, oh, let me see what the moon is like. Then I will transfer myself to higher planets. He goes from here to there in the universe. Just as on earth, travelers go from New York to California or Canada. But a Krishna conscious person is not interested in such interplanetary travel within the material universe. His goal is service to Krishna and transferal to the spiritual sky. Omiti ekaksharam brahma Vya, Vyaharan Mam Anusmaran Yaprayati Jandeham Sayati Paramam Gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Bhagavad Gita, 8 chapter 13 shloka. Om or Omkara is the concise form or impersonal form of the transcendental vibration. The Dhyana yogi should vibrate Om while remembering the Krishna or Vishnu, the supreme personality of Godhead. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. Whatever the case, the entire yoga system aims at concentration on Vishnu. Impersonalists may imagine a form of Vishnu, but the personalists do not imagine. They actually see the form of the Supreme Lord. Whether one imagines or factually sees, one has to concentrate his mind on the Vishnu form. Here the word Prabhuji scrolled.
One second. ఇక్కడే
Yes,
ఉన్నారు కదా
Prabhuji.
ప్రభు మాత
Yes, Prabhuji.
ఓంకార
Last line. Last line,
ఇక్కడ
Prabhuji. Here the word Mam means unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu. If one can remember Vishnu upon quitting this body, he can enter into the spiritual kingdom.
yes yes yeah
Shall I read, Prabhuji, or?
read.
Okay, Prabhuji. One who is intelligent naturally thinks, I am permanent and eternal. Why should I be interested in things that are not permanent? Actually, no one wants an existence that is temporary. If we are living in an apartment and the landlord asks us to vacate, we have to do so, whatever we want to leave or not. However, if we move to a better apartment, we are not sorry. It is our nature, however, to want to remain wherever we live. That is because we are permanent and want a permanent residence. Our inclination is to remain. Therefore, we don't want to die. We don't want the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. These are external miseries inflicted by material nature, and they attack us like some fever. In order to extricate ourselves, we have to take certain precautions. To get rid of these miseries, it is necessary to get rid of the material body, because these miseries are inherent in material existence.
Yeah, continue. This paragraph
Yes, Prabhu.
continue.
Okay, Prabhu. Thus, by vibrating Om and leaving the material body, thinking of the Supreme Lord, the yogi is transferred to the spiritual world. Those who are not personalist, however, cannot enter into the spiritual planet of Lord Sri Krishna. They remain outside in the Brahma Jyoti effulgence. Just as the sunshine is not different from the sun globe, the Brahma Jyoti effulgence of the Supreme Lord is not different from the Supreme Lord. The impersonalists are placed in the Brahma Jyoti as minute particles. We are all spiritual sparks, and the Brahma Jyoti is full of these spiritual sparks. In this way, the impersonalists merge into spiritual existence. However, individuality is retained because the spirit soul is constitutionally an individual. Because the impersonalists don't want a personal form, they are placed and held in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. There they exist just as atoms exist within the sunshine. The individual spiritual spark remains within the Brahma Jyoti as if homogeneous. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Hema Mataji, Hare Krishna. Want to read Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
As living entities, we all want enjoyment. We do not simply want existence. We are constitutionally Sachidananda, eternal, Sat, full of knowledge, Chit, and full of bliss, Ananda. Those who enter the impersonal Brahmajyoti cannot remain there eternally with the knowledge that now I am merged. I am now one with Brahman. Although there is eternality and knowledge, bliss, Ananda, is lacking. Who can remain alone in a room year after?
1 second. Yeah. Yeah. You're reading. You're reading. Yeah.
రాలేదు
రాలేదా మరి? ఓకే.
స్క్రోల్ అవ్వలేదు.
చేశాను నేను. మేబీ రీలోడింగ్ అవుతుందేమో. బట్ దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ ఇట్ ఈస్. అదర్ డివోటీస్, కెన్ యూ కన్ఫర్మ్? కనిపిస్తుందా?
అయింది ప్రభుజీ.
యా మీ దగ్గరనే అవుతుంది ఏదైనా ఇంటర్నెట్ ఏమో.
సో వేరే వాళ్ళని చదవమని చెప్పండి ప్రభు. నా స్టక్ అయింది, అక్కడే ఆగిపోయింది.
షూర్. పల్లవి మాతాజీ, ప్లీజ్ కంటిన్యూ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ వన్.
వచ్చింది ప్రభు. Year after year, reading some book and trying to enjoy himself, we cannot remain alone forever. Eventually, we will leave that room and look for some association. It is our nature to want some recreation with others. The impersonalists, dissatisfied with the loneliness of their position in the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, therefore return again to this material world. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter, 32nd sloka. येन्येराविन्दाक्ष विमुक्तमानिनास् त्वय्यस्ताभावद् अविशुद्धबुद्धया आरुह्य कृच्छ्रेण परं पदं तथा पतन्ति अधो नादृत युष्मद् आङ्ग्रया. O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. The impersonalists are like astronauts in search of a planet. If they cannot rest in some planet, they have to return to Earth. It is herein stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Anandradata Yusmad Angraya, that the impersonalist must return to the material world because he has neglected to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. As long as we are on this earth, we should practice to love and serve Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Then we can enter his spiritual planet. If we are not trained up in this way, we can enter the Brahmajyoti as an impersonalist. But there is every risk that we will again fall down into material existence. Out of loneliness, we will search out some association and therefore return to the material world. What we actually want is the eternal association of the Supreme Lord. This is our constitutional position of eternality, knowledge, and pleasure. If we are alone, if we do not associate with the Supreme Lord, that pleasure is lacking. For want of pleasure, we feel uncomfortable. For want of pleasure, we accept any kind of association, any kind of pleasure. Therefore, out of a kind of desperation, we will say, all right, then let me have material pleasure again. That is a risk the impersonalists take.
యా లోడ్ అయిందా మరి చూసారా?
Yes, bro. In the material world, the highest pleasure is found in sex. That is but a perverted reflection of the pleasure experienced with Krishna in the spiritual world. Unless there is sex present in the spiritual world, it cannot be reflected here. However, we should understand that here the reflection is perverted. Actual life is there in Krishna. Krishna is full of pleasure. And if we train ourselves to serve him in Krishna consciousness, it will be possible at the time of death to transfer ourselves to the spiritual world and enter into Krishna Loka. Krishna's planet, and enjoy ourselves in the association of Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's planet is described in Brahma Samhita 5.29 in this way. Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpa vruksha laksha vruteshu surabhira vipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the Surabhi cows that fulfill all desires, who is surrounded by millions of purpose, wish fulfilling trees and abodes built with spiritual gems, and who is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune. In this way, Krishnaloka is described. There, the houses are made of touchstone, Chintamani. If a small particle of touchstone touches an iron rod, the rod will immediately turn to gold. Of course, in this material, we have no experience with such a thing as touchstone, but according to Brahma Samhita, all the abodes in Krishnaloka are composed of touchstone. Similarly, the trees, they are called desire trees, Kalpavruksha, because one can get whatever he desires from them. Here we can get only mangoes from a mango tree. But in Krishnaloka, we can get whatever we desire from any tree because the trees are Kalpavruksha. This is just a partial description of Krishnaloka, Krishna's eternal abode in the spiritual sky.
Hare Krishna. This
Krishna.
is the Brahma Samhita prayer, how spiritual world looks like. Surabhi cows, Chintamani jewels, desire trees. Yes. And there we get spiritual body. And that happiness is, that's where, why the pleasure, knowledge, and eternality on the Satchidananda Vigraha, our bodies, the soul's nature is Satchidananda Vigraha. So opposite to Satchidananda Vigraha is this material body. Satchit Ananda. Sat means always. This temporary body not always there. It is changing every time. Life after life, transmigrating from one body to other body. Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means always. But here, Asat, temporary. Then Sat Tarvada Chit, right? Sat Chit. Chit means knowledgeable. Here, ignorant. That's where we got these material bodies. We wanted to enjoy like Krishna. That's why Krishna has given this body to enjoy into material world, not in the spiritual world. It's not suitable there. So Chit potency is knowledge. Where there, knowledgeable. Knowledge means knowledge. Knowledge like associating with Krishna, serving with Krishna, serving to Lord Krishna is happiest position. That is a knowledge. Sat Chit. Then Ananda. In this material world, Ananda is there, but it's not flickering Ananda. Temporary in nature. Sometimes there, sometimes not there. We cannot have longer time that happiness. Food, take best example, every day we take food. Every, breakfast, lunch, dinner, we have to take. It cannot stay for a couple of 3 days, 3 or 4 days, no. When we take food, it gives some happiness. Yes, my stomach is fulfilled. I got nourished. But after again, our lunch or dinner time comes, again we get so angry. That happiness is not there. That's a crude example of, in our bodies. Whereas in spiritual world, it's a everlasting happiness. And there is no end of happiness. So Prabhupada writes that, many times writes, actually, material world, perverted reflection of spiritual world. So in this material world, the topmost enjoyment is the sex pleasure. In spiritual world also there, but we cannot understand that at this point. That is beyond the bodily level, on the Atma level, and that is more times happiness on the soul level. Prabhupada writes that, right? After that, he is explaining how spiritual world looks like, what exactly the spiritual bodies. So that's the thing. Full of pleasure. Krishna is full of pleasure. And if we train ourselves to serve him in Krishna consciousness, it will be possible at the time of death to transfer our selves to the spiritual world, right? So that's the thing. So we just have to take up seriously and practice it. Bhakti yoga principles. It's not one day, 2 day. Many times I said it's a lifestyle. It's a gradual process. So that way, it's naturally we have to, not forcefully have to do devotion service. See, love, right? Unless we have love for somebody, we cannot do anything. So this is what we have to develop, love for Krishna, so that it become naturally to perform various activities in Krishna consciousness. Love is not forceful thing. It's a voluntary, right? I love somebody, I love someone. It's from heart to heart connection. That's where we also have to establish our heart to heart connection with Krishna. Krishna is already there in our heart as a super soul. What is that verse? Can anybody remember from Bhagavad Gita? Krishna situated in our heart. Krishna situated in our heart. It's there in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna directly says,
Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sanvishta.
Hrudi Sannivishto. Hrudi means heart. Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sannivishto. He is situated in our heart. And from him, everything comes. From him, knowledge, forgetfulness, remembrance. Right? Forgetfulness for bad things, remembrance for good things, knowledge for which is eternal, which is good. He gives. Yes. Who else? Pallavi Mata, you would like to read?
Yeah, Prabhuji. The conclusion, therefore, is not to try to elevate ourselves to any material planet, because the same miserable conditions of very cheap for them.
No.
Very miserable conditions, birth, old age, disease, and death exist in all of them. Scientists are very proud of scientific advancement, but they have not been able to check old age, disease, and death. They can manufacture something to accelerate death, but nothing that can stop death. That is not within their power. Those who are intelligent are interested in putting an end to birth, old age, disease, and death, and entering into a spiritual life full of eternality, bliss, and knowledge. The Bhakti Yogi knows that such a life is possible through practice of Krishna consciousness and remembrance of Krishna at the time of death. Ananya Chetah Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityasaha Tasyaham Sulabhaha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Bhagavad Gita 8.14. In this verse, the word Nitya Yukta means continuously in trance. Such a person who is continuously thinking of Krishna and always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the highest yogi. His attention is not diverted to Gnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or any other system. For him, there is only one system, Krishna. Ananya Chetah means without deviation. A Krishna conscious devotee is not disturbed by anything because his mind is always concentrated on Krishna. The word Satatam means that he is thinking of Krishna at all places and at all times. When Krishna descended onto this earth, he appeared in Vrindavana. Although I am presently living in America, my residence is in Vrindavana because I'm always thinking of Krishna. Although I may be in New York apartment, my consciousness is there, and this is as good as being there. Krishna consciousness means always living with Krishna in his spiritual planet. Because we are conscious of Krishna, we are already living with him. We simply have to wait to give up this material body to go there. For one who remembers Krishna without deviation, he is easy to obtain. Tasyaham sulabha partha. I become
very cheap.
I become very cheap for them. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness, the most valuable thing becomes very easy to obtain Because one is engaged in Bhakti Yoga, Krishna becomes easily available. Why should we try so hard to attain Krishna when Krishna himself says, I am easy to obtain? We have only to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, 24 hours daily. There is no fast rule and regulation. We can chant in the street or on the subway, in our home or in our office. There is neither expenditure nor tax. Actually, Krishna being omnipotent, this is actually Krishna being omnipotent is unconquerable, but it is said that he is not only obtained but conquered through pure devotional service. As stated before, it is generally very difficult to realize the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, one of his names is Ajita, meaning he whom no one can conquer. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3, Lord Brahma prays to Ajita, Gnane Prayasam Udapasya Namanta Eva Jivanti San Mukharitam Bhavadiya Vartam Sthane Stitha Shruti Gatam Tanuvari Manobhir Ye Prayaso Jita Jito Pai Asi Tasi Trilokyam. O my dear Lord Ajita, these devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conceptions of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind, they can live in any ashrama or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable. Continue, Jayala Prabhuji. Aapemanta. Okay. In this verse, the words Gnane Prayasam refer to theosophists and philosophers who are trying year after year and life after life to understand God or the absolute truth. Their attempts are like those of the frog in a well trying to comprehend the vastness of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Even our attempts to measure outer space are futile, to say nothing of the attempt to measure
measure God, to measure God.
To measure God. Such attempts are doomed to failure. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that we abandon all attempts to measure the Supreme. It is completely useless to try to understand God by our limited knowledge, and an intelligent man understands this. We should become submissive and try to understand that our position is that of a very insignificant segment in this creation. The words Namanta Eva indicate that we are just to become submissive in order to understand the supreme form of reliable source. And what is that source? San Mukharitam, from the lips of realized souls. Arjuna is understanding God directly from the lips of Krishna, and we have to understand God through the lips of Arjuna or his bona fide representative. We can understand the transcendental nature of God only from a reliable source. That source may be Indian, European, American, Japanese, Hindu, Muslim, or whatever. The circumstances are not important. We just have to try to understand by hearing and then try to put the process to practice in our daily lives. By becoming submissive, hearing from the right source, and trying to apply the teachings in our daily lives, we can become conquerors of the Supreme. For one who does this, Lord Krishna becomes easily available. Ordinarily, God realization is very difficult, but it's very easy for one who submissively hears Shruti Gatam. Sorry.
Yes, Mata. Thank you. Okay, Mata.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Shruti Gatam. Lastly, very nicely, Prabhupada written. Sulabham Tasyaham sulabha partha. Tasyaham sulabha partha means he becomes easily available when we take beatbacks and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Simple. Even though we don't realize, is Krishna with us? Is Krishna with us when I chant his names? But he's there. Even though if we don't realize, in his sound vibration, he's there. We cannot see him, we cannot experience him in personality, but still he is there in the holy name. There is no difference between Krishna and his holy name. Abhinnatvam nama naminaha. So, tasyaham sulabha partha. What is that tasyaham sulabha partha? By remembering him, by doing all activities centered around him. Right? That's where Krishna is become easily available. Prabhupada writes the word cheap is cheaply available. Cheap is a word, right? Cheap rate, cheap discounts, cheap rates. We look for any deals. Yeah, this is very cheap. Oh, this is too much cost. Bhakti yoga is very cheap actually. In another way, Bhakti yoga centered around Krishna's activities are very cheap, easily. Tasyaham sulabha partha. Lord Krishna, see, hearing from the right source, that means hearing from a bona fide spiritual master with submissive, humble attempts, some humble nature, humble by becoming humble in front of that bona fide spiritual master, hearing from him. That means now we are hearing from Srila Prabhupada. We are understanding from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna, and he is from Guru Parampara. He has his guru has his guru has his guru, right? So this knowledge is transferring from Guru Parampara system. Evam Parampara Praptam. That means we are in right source. We are in rightly situated, correctly situated. So the knowledge is perfect. If you try to do this activity and by hearing from right source, trying to apply these teachings, what Srila Prabhupada says in this, we don't need to change any position. Actually, there is one song also there in Vaishnava Acharya, Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya songs. Gruhe Thako, Vane Thako, Sada Hari Bolo Thako. Gruhe Thako or Vane Thako. Either you have a householder life or Vanaprastha life. Vana Thako means who lives in a Vanaprastha stage. After 50 years, the devotees who lives in Vanaprastha stage, the stage, wherever stage, whatever stage, Brahmachari, Gruhastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, whatever ashrama, Brahmachari ashrama, Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or Sannyasa ashrama, whatever ashrama, Grihe Thako, Vane Thako, Sada Hari Bole Thako. That's it. Krishna is becoming easily available. Lord Krishna becomes easily available. God relation is very difficult, but it is very easy for one who submissively hears Shruti Gatam. Submissive. That is what the quality we have to develop. We have to hear from right source. Then our bhakti nourished, our practice nourished. Yes. Thank you, Mataji, again. Sirisha Mataji, sorry. You can continue. You are there, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji. It's okay. Sapan Prabhu, kindly read.
Hare Krishna. There are two
Yes.
processes by which we can acquire knowledge. One is the ascending process, Aroha Pantha, and the other is the descending process, Avaroha Pantha. By the ascending process, one attempts to understand God by his own efforts, by philosophizing, meditating, and speculating. According to the descending process, one acquires knowledge simply by hearing from an authority, from the bona fide spiritual master and the scriptures. As far as the ascending process is concerned, it is stated in Brahma Samhita 5.34.
Yeah.
I have some lag, probably, so just give it some time.
Yes.
Audio lo lag ledu, but video lo undi.
Yes, I opened in right side. So
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tips of the toes of whose lotus feet are approached by the yogis and jnanis, who travel for billions of years at the speed of wind or mind. We can all understand how great the speed of mind is. Although sitting in New York City, I can immediately think of India. which is thousands and thousands of miles, it is herein stated that even if one travels at this speed for billions of years, Krishna will still remain inconceivable. The word Muni Pungavanam refers to a great thinker, not an ordinary man. Even if such a great thinker travels for millions of years at the speed of mind, he will still find the Supreme Personal unknowable. Yet, for one who takes undeviatingly to this path of Krishna consciousness, Krishna is easy to obtain. Why is this? Nitya Yuktasya Yogina, because such a person is constantly engaged in my devotion service and I cannot forget him. So is the process. When we have only to become submissive to attract the attention of God. My Guru Maharaj used to say, don't try to see God, but work in such a way that God will see you. God will take care of you. You don't have to try to see him. This should be our attitude. We should not think, I want to see God. Oh God, please come and stand before me. Be like my servant. But since God is no one's servant, we have to oblige him by our love and service. We all know how difficult it is to see the king or president of a country. It is practically impossible for an ordinary man.
To get
An interview with such an important person, to say nothing of having this important person come and stand before him. Yet people are demanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead come and stand before them. It is our nature to hanker after Krishna because he is the most attractive, most beautiful, most opulent, most powerful, most learned, and most famous person in the universe. Everyone hankers after these qualities, and Krishna is the reservoir of these qualities, and he possesses them in full. Krishna is a reservoir of everything. Rasove sa. Therefore, when we hanker after beauty or power or knowledge or fame, we should just turn our attention to Krishna. Then we will automatically get whatever our hearts desire.
Haribol, this chapter done. Whatever hearts desire. Oh, yeah. You haven't read this, Prabhu. Sorry, I didn't show you. Pantastu koti sata vatsara sampragamyo vayo ratapi manaso muni pungavanam sopi asti yat prapada simni avichintaya tatve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I haven't scrolled down, sorry, Prabhu. So that's anyway, you read the translation here. So again, Prabhupada writes, Krishna is easy to obtain, and quoting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. Because such a person is constantly engaged in my devotional service, I cannot forget him. Krishna assures, actually. This is the assure. Can you give assure? We say in material world. Is it? Are you able to give assurance? Yes, Krishna is giving assurance here. Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. Because the devotee constantly engaged in is a service, Krishna's service. This is also one of the important statements Prabhupada frequently quotes from his Guru Maharaj. Don't try to see God, but work in such a way that God will see you. God will take care of you. You don't have to try to see him. Krishna knows everything. Krishna, see, if he want to show, if he want to reveal himself, he definitely reveals. But we have to act such a way that Krishna automatically comes without our, much hankering for to see the Lord. Don't try to see. Work in such a way that work for Krishna consciousness, work in Krishna consciousness. That should be our attitude. Prabhupada writes here. Krishna is a reservoir of everything. Raso Vaisaha. Therefore, when we hanker after beauty or power or knowledge or fame, we should just turn our attention to Krishna. So there are 6 opulences Krishna possesses. 6 opulences Krishna possesses, by which he becomes attractive. Right? That is a verse in the, I think, Padma Purana. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yasasha, Jnanam, Shreya, Vairagya. So 6 opulences: knowledge, beauty, fame, renunciation. Knowledge, beauty, fame, renunciation, strength. There is one more thing. So total 6 opulences through unlimited nature. Not in this material world, we see persons up to certain limit, fortune billionaires, fortune, that magazine, every year conducts this survey, and who are the billionaire in the entire world. So that is up to a limit. But in Krishna, it's unlimited. He's an unlimited billionaire actually. Krishna is unlimited billionaire because the creation itself come from him. So he is through these 6 opulences he attracts. That's why it's called Sarva Akarshayati iti Krishna. Through 6 opulences: knowledge, fame, beauty, strength, renunciation. So that's the thing. That's where we have to work for Krishna, to that attractive person, right? So that attractive person. So this, I think this is the last chapter. Let me see. Path of perfection. And yeah, this is the last chapter we have now. The path of perfection in this book. Chapter 10. Yeah, let us read. You can continue, Prabhupada. I mean, I am not sure. Shirisha Mata are still there? Hare Krishna Mataji. Raju Prabhu, Shirisha Mataji.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna Prabhuji.
మాతయ్య సారీ మీరు దామోదరాసు చేస్తారేమో అయిందా చదువుతారా
చదువుతాం మాతాజీ. చదువుతా ప్రభుజీ. హరే కృష్ణ.
చాప్టర్ 10 ఈ బుక్ లో ఇది లాస్ట్ చాప్టర్, అందుకే ప్రభుపాద కూడా రాసింది టైటిల్ కూడా అదే, ది పాత్ ఆఫ్ పర్ఫెక్షన్. చదవండి మాత. ఎస్.
ది పాత్ ఆఫ్ పర్ఫెక్షన్. మాముపేత్య పునర్జన్మ దుఃఖాలయమ శాశ్వతం న పున్వాతి మహాత్మాన సంసిద్ధిం paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita 8.15. The material world is certified by its very creator, the Supreme Lord as Dukkalayam, which means the place of miseries. Since this is the case, how can we possibly make it comfortable by so-called scientific advancement? Dukkha means misery or suffering, and real suffering is birth, old age, disease, and death. We have to set these problems aside because we cannot solve them. Therefore, scientists concentrate on atomic bombs and spaceships. Why can't they solve these important problems that are always causing us to suffer? Obviously, they haven't the power to do so. But in this verse, Sri Krishna gives the solution, Mamupetya Punarjanma. That is, if one attains my platform, he does not come back to this place of misery. Unfortunately, in the mode of ignorance, people cannot understand that they are in a
miserable situation.
In the miserable situation. Animals cannot understand their miserable situations because they haven't the reason. Man possesses the reason whereby he can understand this. But in this age, people are using their reasoning power in order to gratify their animal propensities. Reason should be used in getting liberated from this miserable condition. However, if we engage in Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day without deviation, we will go to Krishna and not be reborn in this miserable world. Mahatma Samsiddham Paramam Gata. Those great souls who have attained the highest perfection, Krishna consciousness, are forever freed from misery. In this verse, the word Mahatma refers to Krishna conscious man eligible to enter the abode of Krishna. The word Mahatma does not refer to a political leader like Mahatma Gandhi, but to a great soul, a pure devotee of Krishna. When Krishna says that the Mahatma enters his abode, he is referring to his transcendental kingdom Goloka Vrindavana. The Vrindavana from which I have come is called Bhauma Vrindavana, which means it is the same Vrindavana descended on this earth. just as Krishna descended on this earth through his own internal potency. Similarly, his dharma, his abode also descends. In other words, when Krishna descends on this earth, he manifests himself in that particular land, Vrindavana, and therefore that land is also scared. A part of this
Sacred. Scared అంటే మీరు భయపడిస్తున్నారు.
Sorry, Prabhu. Sacred. Apart from this, Krishna has his own abode in the spiritual sky, and this is called Goloka Vrindavana. The Mahatma prefers in this life to enter the transcendental abode. The human form of life can utilize nature to its best interest. Animals cannot. These facilities should be utilized in striving to become a Mahatma and putting an end to birth in this material world, which is characterized by threefold miseries. The threefold miseries are those that pertain to the mind or the body, natural disturbances, and miseries caused by other living entities. Whatever our position in this material world, there is always some kind of misery being inflicted upon us. Sri Krishna frankly says that it is not possible to avoid misery in the material world because this world is meant for misery. Unless miseries are present, we cannot come to Krishna consciousness. Misery serves as an impetus to help elevate us to Krishna consciousness. An intelligent person
Understands.
An intelligent person understands that although he does not want misery, miseries are being inflicted upon him by force. No one wants misery, but a person should be intelligent enough to question, why are these miseries being forced upon me? Unfortunately, in modern civilization, people try to set miseries aside, thinking, oh, why I suffer? Why suffer? Let me cover my miseries with some intoxication. However, the miseries of life cannot be solved by artificial intoxication. As soon as the intoxication is over, one returns to the same point. The miseries of material existence can be solved only by Krishna consciousness. If we always remain in Krishna consciousness, we will be transferred to Krishna's planet upon leaving this material body. That is called the highest perfection. People may inquire, well, you say that entering Krishna's planet constitutes the highest perfection, but we are interested in going to the moon. Is this not a kind of perfection? Well, the desire to enter the higher planets is always there in the human mind. In fact, another name for the living entity is Sarvagata, which means that he wants to travel everywhere. That is the nature of the living entity. Americans who have money often go to India, Europe, or some other country because they do not like to stagnate in one place. This is our nature, and therefore we are interested in going to the moon or wherever. But according to Krishna, even if we attain the higher planets, we are still subject to the material miseries. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punaravartinarjuna mamupetyatu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Bhagavad Gita 8.16. Can I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah, if you want, you can continue. So, want to continue?
Yeah, my friend Rashmi want to continue, Prabhuji.
Sure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You can join every time, then not suddenly, surprisingly. No, you have to come.
Yeah, Prabhuji, sure.
Read it. Nice.
Okay,
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The universe is divided into 14 planetary system, 7 lower and 7 higher. The earth is
situated in the middle. In this verse, Sri Krishna says, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. Even if one event, the highest planet,
And yeah, yes, you just see 136 question. Okay, highlighted one.
Brahmaloka, there is still birth and death. The word Punaravatar Tinah mean returning again or repetition of birth and death. We are changing bodies just as we change clothes, leaving one body and entering another. All planets are filled with living entities. We should not think that only the earth is inhabited. There are living entities on the higher planets and lower planets as well. From our experience, we can see that no place on earth is vacant of living entities. If we dig into the earth, we find some worms, and if we go into the water, we find many aquatics. The air is filled with birds, and if we analyze outer space, we will find many living entities. It is illogical to conclude that there are no living entities on the other planets. To the contrary, they are full of living entities.
Go ahead, go ahead. Read one or two paragraphs.
Okay, Prabhuji. In any case, Krishna says that from the highest planet to the lowest planet, there is repetition of birth and death. Yet again, as in the former verse, he says, Mam Upetya, if you reach my planet, you don't have to return to this miserable material world. To stress this point, Sri Krishna repeats that upon reaching Goloka Vrindavanam, his eternal abode, one is liberated from the cycle of birth and death and attains eternal life. It is the duty of human life to understand these problems and attain a blissful eternal life that is full of knowledge. Unfortunately, people in this age have forgotten the aim of life. Why? Durasya ye Bahir Artham Maninah. People have been trapped by material glitter, by skyscrapers, big factories, and political activities. People do not stop to consider that however big the skyscrapers may be, they will not be allowed to live there indefinitely. We should not spoil our energy, therefore, in building great cities, but should employ our energy to elevate ourselves to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not a religious formula or some spiritual recreation, but it is most important factor in our lives.
Nice, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
How is your Gaurav Prabhu and your son? All okay?
Gaurav Prabhuji is working, Prabhuji.
They're all doing well, right?
Sorry, Prabhuji?
They're all doing well, correct? Okay? They're all okay?
Yeah, Prabhuji. How are you, Prabhuji?
Okay. All well is well. Please join whenever Shri Krishna Mata joins. Please join.
Yes,
And,
Prabhuji. Definitely.
You will get some interest.
Yeah.
Your chanting also will be improved. Okay, please join.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, other devotees, please. Mataji, again, Venala Mataji, please continue. Let us read another 5-10 minutes and then we'll wrap up. Please continue from.
People are interested in attaining higher planets because their one's enjoyment is 1,000 times greater than the duration of life, and the duration of life much longer. Sahasra Yuga Paryanta Maharaj Brahmana Viduhu. Can you please scroll through?
Yes. Ratrim Yuga Sahasra.
Sahasrantim Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. Bhagavad Gita 8.17. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance, and vice versa. And the yugas last for 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, the Treta Yuga, Vaisya is introduced, and this Yuga lasts for 1,296,000 years. In the Dwapar Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion vice increasing. And this Yuga lasts for 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the Yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, religion, and vice, true virtue being practically non existent, and this yuga lasts for 432,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki Avatara, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These four yugas rotate, rotating 1,000 times comprise one day of Brahma, the the creator God, and the same number comprises of one night. Brahma lives 100 such years and then dies. These 100 years by earth calculation total 311 trillion and 40 million earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable. But from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux.
Yes, yes. ఒక paragraph ఇద్దాం అది అందరు చదివినట్టుంటది. So I'll do that. So this is the time frame is given. Different yugas. We just have to remember 432,000 years. That is for Kali Yuga. And in order to know other yugas, just into 2. 432,000 into 2 means that is Dwapara Yuga. That means 864,000. And 432,000 into 3 times. That means Treta Yuga. That is 12,96,000 years. And then Satya Yuga. 432,000 into 4 times. 17,28,000. There is a time frame is given in the Yuga cycles. Prabhupada writes here Brahma's lifetime, but compares to eternity, this is nothing. It is just like lightning flash. And Prabhupada says this in the casual ocean, Karana, Karnadakshay Vishnu. So these innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation all are parts of the material universe. Therefore, they are in the constant flux. The material universe is only. Okay. Samyukta Mataji, we all read one paragraph and quickly close. Okay? Quickly.
Yes, Prabhu. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe, and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death, according to the law of material nature. So even if we live millions and trillions of years, we have to die. Death cannot be avoided. Throughout the entire universe, the process of creation and annihilation is taking place as described in the next verse. Avyakta vyakta sarva prabhavanti ahar agame ratri agame praliyante tatrai vyakta samagnake. When Brahma's day is manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 18th shloka.
Yes, Mataji. When Brahma's day is manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are annihilation. Manifest and manifest, coming and going. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. So now, Hema Mataji, please read some paragraphs. Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Unless we go to the spiritual sky, there is no escaping this process of birth and death, creation and annihilation. When Brahma's days are finished, all these planetary systems are covered by water, and when Brahma rises again, creation takes place. The word ahar means in the day, which is 12 hours of Brahma's life. During this time, this material manifestation, all these planets are seen. But when night comes, they are all merged in water. That is, they are annihilated. The word Ratri Agame means all the fall of night, at the fall of night. During this time, all these planets are invisible because they are inundated with water. This flux is the nature of the material world. भूतग्रामा स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्रिरागमे वसापार्ता प्रभावती ahar agame. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active. And again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 19, shloka. Although we do not want devastation, devastation is inevitable. At night, everything is flooded. And
When day appears.
load అవుతున్నట్లుంది. You please carry on, Prabhu. రాలేదు ఇది.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. So, Pallavi Mataji.
And when day appears, gradually the waters disappear. For instance, on this one planet, the surface is 3/4 covered with water. Gradually, land is emerging, and the day will come.
యా నేను మళ్ళీ మూవ్ చేసిన అవుతుంది దానివల్ల మళ్ళీ మీకు బఫరింగ్ ఇష్యూ అవుతుంది. ఇట్స్ ఓకే. బఫరింగ్ రీలోడ్
ఓకే బ్రో, క్యారీ.
యాస్ మనం పల్లవి మదర్ ప్లీజ్ కంటిన్యూ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్. ఐ రీడ్ దిస్ రిమైన్ ఇక్కడ చదవండి. వెన్ డే అపియర్స్ మళ్ళీ చదవండి.
When day appears, gradually the water disappear. For instance, on this one planet, the surface is 3/4 covered. Gradually, land is emerging, and the day will come when there will no longer be water, but simply land. That is nature's process. Paras tasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yahasa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsuna vinasyati. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and non-manifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Bhagavad Gita 8.20. We cannot calculate the length and breadth of this universe. There are millions and millions of universes like this within this material world. And above this material world is the spiritual sky, where the planets are eternal. Life on those planets is also eternal. This material manifestation comprises only 1/4 of the entire creation.
Ekamsena
sthito jagat. Ekamsena means 1/4. 3/4 of the creation is beyond this material sky, which is covered like a ball. This covering extends millions and millions of miles, and only after penetrating that covering can one enter the spiritual sky. That is open sky, eternal sky. In this verse, it is stated, Paras tasmat tu bhavo nyaha. Yet there is another nature. The word bhava means another nature. We have experience only with this material nature, but from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that there is a spiritual nature that is transcendental and eternal. We actually belong to that spiritual nature because we are spirit, but presently we are covered by this material body, and therefore we are a combination of the material and spiritual. Just as we can understand that we are a combination of both natures, we should understand also that there is a spiritual world beyond this material universe. Spiritual nature is called superior and material nature is called inferior, because without spirit, matter cannot move. Continue, Jala Prabhuji, aap emantaru? This cannot be understood by
experimental knowledge.
Experimental knowledge.
We may look at millions and millions of stars.
We may look at millions and millions of stars through telescope, but we cannot approach what we are seeing. Similarly, our senses are so insufficient that we cannot approach an understanding of the spiritual nature. Being incapable, we should not try to understand God and His kingdom by experimental knowledge. Rather, we have to understand by hearing Bhagavad Gita. There is no other way. If we want to know who our father is, we simply have to believe our mother. We have no other way of knowing except by her. Similarly, in order to understand who God is and what His nature is, we have to accept the information given in Bhagavad Gita. There is no question of experimenting. Once we become advanced in Krishna consciousness, we will realize God and His nature. We can come to understand, yes, there is God and a spiritual kingdom, and have to go there. Indeed, I must prepare myself to go there. Hare Krishna.
So nicely given this statement, Srila Prabhupada, right? So in order to understand our eternal father, we have to read Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Vedas are our mother. Vedas are our mother. And Krishna is our father. Right? Aham bija pradapita. That says in the Bhagavad Gita. He himself says that I am Aham bija pradapita. I am seed giving father. Our source is come from him. So Vedas are just like mother. In order to understand who is our father, how will we get to know? By approaching our mother. Our mother says, yes, he is your father. Like Vedas says, Vedas are like our mother. Vedas saying that Krishna is the mother. And Vedas, who has written these Vedas again? Krishna has written these Vedas. Sarvasya chaham vidhi sannishtam atta smritir jnanam apane. Vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedya vedantakrit vedavideva chaham. That's what it is. Yeah, Saban Prabhu, with you, we'll conclude. Just read this complete paragraph, Prabhu. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The word Vyakta means manifest. This material universe that we are seeing or partially seeing before us is manifest. At least at night, we can see that stars are twinkling and there are innumerable planets. But beyond this Vyakta is another nature called Avyakta, which is unmanifest. There is the spiritual nature, which is Sanatana, eternal. This material nature has a beginning and an end, but the spiritual nature has neither beginning nor end. The material sky is within the covering of the Mahat Tattva matter. This matter is like a cloud. When there is a storm, it appears that the entire sky is covered with clouds, but actually only an insignificant part of the sky is covered. Because we are very minute, if just a few hundreds of miles are covered, it appears that the entire sky is covered. As soon as the wind comes and blows the clouds away, we can see the sky once again. Like the clouds, this Mahat Tattva covering has a beginning and an end. Similarly, the material body, being a part of material nature, has a beginning and end. The body is born, grows, stays for some time, leaves some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. Whatever material manifestation we see undergoes these 6 basic transformations. Whatever exists within material nature will ultimately be vanquished. But here in Krishna is telling us that beyond this vanishing,
cloud-like.
Yeah, a lag on Prabhuji. Cloud-like material nature, there is a superior nature, which is Sanatana, eternal. Ya sa sarveshu bhuteshu nastyastsu na vinashyati. When this material manifestation is annihilated, that spiritual sky remains. This is called Avyakto Vyakta. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of the spiritual sky and the people who live there. Its nature and its features are also discussed. From this second canto, we understand that there are There are spiritual airplanes in the spiritual sky, and that the living entities there who are all liberated travel like lightning on those planets, on those planes throughout the spiritual sky. This material world is simply an imitation. Whatever we see here is simply a shadow of what exists there. The material world is like a cinema wherein we see but an imitation or a shadow of the real thing that is existing. The material world is only a shadow. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, Yatra 3 Sargo Rasa. This illusory world is a combination of matter. In store windows, we often see mannequins, but no sane man thinks that these mannequins are real. He can see that they are imitations. Similarly, whatever we see here may be beautiful, but just as a mannequin may be beautiful, but it is simply an imitation of the real beauty found in the spiritual world. As Sridhara Swami says, Yat Satyatya Mitya Sargo Pi Satyavat Pratyate. The spiritual world is real, and this unreal manifestation, material manifestation, only appears to be real. We must understand that reality will never be vanquished, and that is, in essence, reality means eternality. Therefore, material pleasure, which is temporary, is not actual. Real pleasure exists in Krishna. Consequently, those who are after the reality don't participate in this shadow pleasure.
Yes, Prabhu. We'll continue on Friday. We'll continue on Friday, Prabhu. It's late in India.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
We'll continue on Friday. Yes, from this paragraph. Thank you very much, devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. See you all on Friday.